Okay, sure, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna to all dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 10, the discussion between Jada Bharat and Maharaj Raghughana. Text. Text 13. My dear king, you have said, you rascal, you dull, crazy fellow, I am going to chastise you, and then you will come to your senses. In this regard, let me say that although I have like a dull, deaf, and dumb man, I am an actually a self-realized person. What will you gain by punishing me? If your calculation is true, and I am a madman, then your punishment will be like beating a dead horse. There will be a no effect. When a madman is punished, he is not cursed of his madness. Text 14. Sukadev Goswami said, O Maharaj Parikshit, when King Raghugana chastised the exalted devotee Jadabharat with harsh words, that peaceful, saintly person tolerated it all and replied properly. The science is due to the bodily conception, and Jadabharat was not affected by this false conception. Out of his natural humility, he never considered himself a great devotee, and he agreed to suffer the result of his past karma. Like an ordinary man, he thought that by carrying the palanquin, he was destroying the reactions of his past misdeeds. Thinking in this way, he began to carry the palanquin as before. Text 15. Sukadev Goswami continued, O best of the Pandu dynasty, Maharaj Parikshit, the king of the Sindhu and the Suvira states, Maharaj Raghugana had a great faith in the discussion of absolute truth. Being thus qualified, he heard from Jadabharat that philosophical presentation which is approved by all the scriptures on the mystic yoga process and which Salkins the knot on the heart. His material conception of himself as a king was thus destroyed. He immediately descended from his palanquin and fell flat on the ground with his head at the lotus feet of the Jadabharat in such a way that he might be excused for his insulting words against the great Brahmana. He then prayed as follows. Text 16. King Raghuvana said, O Brahmana, you appear to be moving in this world very much covered and unknowing to others. Who are you? Are you a learned Brahmana and saintly person? I see that you are wearing a scaled thread, and you one of those exalted, liberated, and saintly, such as Dattatreya and other highly advanced, learned scholars. May I ask who whose disciple you are? Where do you live? Why have you come to this place? Is your mission in coming here to do good for us? Please let me know who you are. Text 17. My dear sir, I am not at all afraid of the thunderbolt of King Indra, nor I am afraid of the serpentine piercing trident of Lord Shiva. I do not care about the punishment of Yamaraja, the superintendent of death, nor I am afraid of fire, scorching sun, moon, wind, nor the weapon of Kuvera. Yet I am afraid of the offending a Brahmana. I am very much afraid of this. Text 18. My dear sir, it appeared that the influence of your great spiritual knowledge is hidden. Factually, you are bereft of all the material association and fully absorbed in the thoughts of the Supreme. Consequently, you are ultimately advanced in the spiritual knowledge. Please tell me why you are wandering around like a Dullard, Dullard, oh great saintly person, you have spoken words approved by the yogic process, but it is not possible for us to understand what you have said. Therefore, kindly explain it. Text 19. I consider your good self the most exalted master of mystic power. You know the spiritual science perfectly well. You are the most exalted of all the learned sages, and you have descended for the benefit of the human society. You have come to give the spiritual knowledge, and you are a direct representative of the Kapila Deva, the incarnation of God and the plenary portion of knowledge. I am therefore asking you, O spiritual master, what is the most secure shelter in this world? Text 28. Is it not a fact that your good self is the direct representative of Kapila Deva, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? To examine the people and see who is actually a human being and who is not. You have presented yourself to be a deaf and dumb person. Are you not moving this way upon the surface of the world? I am very attached to the family life and worldly activities, and I am blind to spiritual knowledge. Nonetheless, I am now present before you, and I am seeking enlightenment from you. How can I advance in the spiritual life? Text 21. You have said, I am not fatigued from the labor, although the soul is different from the body. There is fatigue because of bodily labor, and it appeared to be the fatigue of the soul. When you are carrying the palanquin, there is certainly a labor for the soul. That is my conjunction. You have also said that the external behavior exhibited between the master and the servant is not the factual, but although in the phenomenal world it is not factual, the product of the phenomenal world can actually affect things that is visible and experienced as such. Even though the material activities are impermanent, they cannot be said to be untrue. Text 22. King Raghugana continued, my dear sir, you have said that the designations like the bodily fatness, and the thinness are not the characteristics of the soul. That is the incorrect, because designations like the pain and the pleasures are certainly felt by the soul. You may put a pot of milk and rice within the fire, and the milk and the rice are automatically heated one after the other. Similarly, due to the bodily pains and the pleasure, the senses, mind, and the soul are affected. The soul cannot be completely detached from this unconditioning. Text 23. My dear sir, you have said that the relationship between the king and the subject, or between the master and the servant, are not the eternal, but although such relationship are temporary. When a person takes the position of a king, his duty is to rule the citizen and punish those who are disobedient to the laws. By punishing them, he reaches the citizens to obey the laws of the state. Again, you have said that the punishing a person who is deaf and dumb is like achieving the achieved or grinding the pulp. That is to say, there is no benefit in it. However, if one is engaged in his own occupational duties as ordered by the Supreme Lord, his sinful activities are certainly diminished. Therefore, if one is engaged in his occupational duties by force, he benefits because he can vanquish all his sinful activities in that way. Text, tell me, text 24. Whatever you have spoken appears to me to be contradictory. O best friend of the distress, I have committed a great offense by insulting you. I was puffed up with false prestige due to the possessing the body of a king. For this I have certainly become an offender. Therefore, I pray that you kindly glance at me with your causeless mercy. If you do so, I can be revealed from the sinful activities brought about by insulting you. Text 25. Oh, my dear Lord, you are the friend of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the friend of all the living entities. You are therefore equal to everyone. You are a free from the bodily conception. Although I have committed an offense by insulting you, I know that there is no loss or gain for you due to my insult. You are fixed in your determination, but I have committed an offense. Because of this, even though I may be as strong as Lord Shiva, I shall be vanquished without delay due to my offense at the lotus feet of an Vaishnava. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of fifth canto, 10th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Discussion Between the Jada Bharat and Maharaj Raghugana. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Radharani Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yes, Sundaracala Prabhu, you can start to when you're ready. Your voice is not coming, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Radharani Devidasi Mataji, for reading today's translations. And we are discussing today the fifth canto, 10th chapter, from verse number 13 to 25. We will start with brief prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnanajana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunivadi Paschatya Deshadharini. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. We are discussing the great dynasty of continuation of great dynasty of Priyavrata Maharaj. So the dynasty started with Priyavrata Maharaj, and then with Agnidhara, and then from Agnidhara born Nabhi, and from Nabhi, Lord Rishabhadeva has appeared, and from Lord Rishabhadeva, one of his 100 sons, the most exalted Bharat Maharaj has um, taken birth, and from Bharat Maharaj, if you see, Bharat Maharaj actually was addressed from chapter number 9 to 14. It's very important. That's why Sukadeva Goswami has very deeply explained, very detailedly explained the lifetimes of Bharat Maharaj until he is delivered. And there are so many lessons that we are getting by going through these, by hearing from the classes wonderfully from Prabhujis and Matajis. And so in this chapter, Rahugana actually, from in one of the verses, it is mentioned Rahugana offended Jadabharata, and Jadabharata was forced to carry Rahugana's palanquin. So despite of the insult, Jadabharata has actually the Jadabharata was compassionate to the ants, and so he was moving erratically. That has disturbed the uh, synchronized movement of the palanquin, which is held by four carriers. So and and also the bearers of the palanquin complained about Jadabharatas to Rahugana. Rahugana actually mentioned his sarcasm, And Raghugana have also expressed some harsh words when Jadabharata was not listening to him. So Jadabharata starts replying to Raghugana. As Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu explained till verse 12, he explained till that how Jadabharata has replied to Raghugana. So today we will continue. The one of the last responses of Jadabharata to Raghugana's statements in the verse number 13. And 13th verse says, "My dear king, you have said, you rascal, you dull, crazy fellow, I'm going to chastise you so that you will come to your senses." Like that, he um, further went ahead and insulted. Unmatta matta jadavat swasamstham, who acts like a madman. So here, Jadabharata was acting like a madman. Gatasya me veera chikitsitena. I shall treat you. I will give you chikitsa. By punishing you who has and that's what he said. Now, Jadabharata is replying to Rahugana by punishing a person, by giving chikitsa to a person who is already attained self-realization, or who is a mad person. What will you attain? So, samstham gatasya me, one who is self-realized, what will you attain by punishing such person? Ardha kriyan bhava sikshitena. Here in this verse, it is said that what will you gain by punishing a madman? And stabda pramattasya cha pishtapeshta. Pishtapeshtam, it is meant translated by Prabhupada as pounding already a powder. So by pounding a powder, trying to grind a powder, what will you gain? Are you trying to make it hard again or a solid again? So here, Acharya Vishwanath Chakravarti Prabhupada explains that you are trying to punish me for being inattentive. Essentially, each of the points told by Rahugana, statements made by Rahugana, now Jadabharata started countering. Rahugana addressed Jadabharat only in terms of bodily identity. This is what is inferred. It seems you are very old and very tired. That's what he said, right? You look very old. Probably you're very tired. Like that, he sarcastically mentioned. So he actually spoke in terms of only bodily identity. He said, I am the king, I am ordering you, and you carry because I am ordering you because I am the king. So the third point he said, if you don't carry me properly, then I will punish you. And basically the 3 points are addressed by Jadabharat in his reply. For the first point, he said, I am not this body. Actually, I am not this body. I'm a spirit soul. So those sarcastic comments that you have made do not apply to me. That's what the first response of Jadabharata was. All these bodily experiences like old age or fatness or thinness, all these things apply only to my body. They only affect a person in the bodily conception. Oh dear Rahugana, and I am not in that bodily conception. In that way, he addressed these 2 points in the first verse. Now, in the second point, that is in the 12th verse. Second point, he said, I am king. Sorry, I think it is 11th verse. So he said, I am the king. I am ordering you, so you must carry. So all these designations are temporary. Today, I am carrying you as and you are the king, but tomorrow I may be the king and you might be the carrier. And at the same time, I might say, carry properly. So third point king said is, I will punish you if you do not carry properly. So what will you accomplish by chastising? What will you accomplish anything by chastising or physically punishing a person who is already self-realized? This is the question. So Sukadeva Goswami speaks in the next verse that answering the king through repeating king's questions with explanations, etat pratyudirya, answering. addressing each and every point. Anuvada paribhasaya. Munivara, best of the sages, Jadabharat, uh, karmarambham vyapanayan. In this way, finishing his prarabdha karma by experiencing in this way, having destroyed all the causes of mm, his previous existence in the material world. So, with a peaceful mind, Upashama Sheila resumed carrying the king's palanquin. Rajayanam api tathovaha. So, Supreme. So, if you see devotees who are in the supreme platform, Paramahamsa level devotees, they actually are very exalted in a way that they never think that they are liberated at all. Attitude of such exalted devotees is that he always remains a humble servant at any cost, at any time, and in all reverse conditions. He agrees to suffer results of such past life. He agrees, and he never have grudge towards experiencing those suffering that he got. He never blames Supreme Lord for putting him into a distressed condition. So he never blames Supreme Lord for putting him into this distressed condition. So in this way, Jadabharata exhibited what Krishna described as Sthita Prajna. When Arjuna asks Krishna, Dukkeshu Anudvigyamana. So this is the answer given by Krishna. Who is a Sthita Prajna? Dukkeshu Anudvigyamana Sukheshu Vigata Spruha Vitaraga Bhayakrodha Sthitadhir Muniruchyate. In the sense, Arjuna meant, what does he speak in that sense? What does he speak when he's put in the disturbing condition? That's what Arjuna was asking. When a Sthitadhir was put in disturbing condition, how does he act or respond? What will he say? What internally in his heart also? What will he say internally in his heart when he's put in the distressful condition? What will he externally say to different people when he's put in that condition? For that, Krishna answers, when a Sthita Prajna is afflicted by pain through his own body or mind or through other living entities or from the nature, when he's receiving afflicted by them, at that time, Anudvignamana, his mind is actually undisturbed. That is the first characteristic that Krishna explains. If you try to find out what he is speaking internally, if somebody asks him what you feel, um, this suffering is because of my own prarabdha karma. This is what Jada Bharata is feeling. So I have to experience this. Sometimes we speak actually externally, but many times internally we have a blame or grudge towards the situation or person, right? So, but Sita Prajna says both internally and externally that I'm just suffering because of my own prarabdha karma. That is, and also if you see Vita Raga Bhayakrodha Sthitadir Muniruchyate, it is also Sukeshu Vigata Spruha, means without desire for enjoyment, is a devoid of raga and affection for desirable objects also. That's why he has no fear. Though he's always in a peaceful disposition, he's never having a fear because he's not worried that his sense objects or attempt to enjoy are getting obstructed. He never care about that. That's why he has no fear. So, and Jadabharata is exhibiting these Sthita Prajna qualities here, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also mentions um, the fact that Jadabharata answered Rahugana's word shows that he is unable to tolerate his sharp words. It appears like that. Maybe he is unable to tolerate sharp words. If he is actually self-realized, then why is he not able to tolerate the sharp words? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is invoking that question before he explains the real reason. It is not that Jadabharata is not able to tolerate the sharp words. In order to destroy the king's, first reason he says is, in order to destroy the king's prarabdha karma, in order to destroy that, Jadabharata out of his mercy has spoken those words. So the king could destroy his karma. In order to destroy king's prarabdha karma. Second explanation that he gives is, Jadabharata, he thought that he's destroying his own karma by his experience, by this experience, because Jadabharata did not consider himself a devotee at all because of humility produced by prema bhava. The prema is the real currency. We were hearing yesterday in the class, even by Adit Gadadhar Prabhu. And he was saying, in the spiritual world, the real currency is prema. So that prema, if one possesses the prema to the Supreme Lord Krishna, what happened? The humility is produced by it. Due to that humility, Jadabharat is thinking that I am not at all a devotee. So he is ready to face the prarabdha karma by experiencing that suffering. That's what his internal mood was. So in text 15, Sukadeva Goswami continued, O best of Pandu dynasty, Maharaj Parikshit. So he explains, he responds, Rahugana actually, he begs forgiveness. He comes to senses as soon as Jadabharat, he hears the statements of Jadabharat. He's wonderful. The way he spoke, he could understood. He has some background. Raghuvana has some background of spirituality, so he could understand the exaltedness of Jadabharat just by his speaking. Arjuna says, Sthita prajna saka bhasa, a fool or a self-realized person. They appear to be the same till they are, when we can realize the difference between them when they start speaking. So, still Prabhupada explains, purpose of Vedic civilization is to conquer the birth and death. That's why parampara system, evam parampara praptam, imam rajasya viduhu. Through parampara system, people get knowledge to conquer a birth and death. That's why when Vishwamitra Muni meets Dasharatha Maharaj, at that time, Dasharatha Maharaj asked that how is your, Vishwamitra, I think Dasharatha Maharaj only asked question, how is your goal of conquering birth and death? This was the first question he asked. He's not asking, how are you doing? How things are going on like that. Right? The whole purpose of Vedic, because they know the purpose of Vedic civilization. This is based on this point only. For this purpose, there is a cooperation between Kshatriyas and Brahmanas. That is the reason why Rahugana, Bharata Maharaj, who never spoke in his life, he never spoke in his life, even a single word, he uttered and started speaking for Rahugana, because it indicates the cooperation between Kshatriyas and Brahmanas. Brahmanas educate Kshatriyas and appreciated. Brahmanas speak spiritual knowledge to Kshatriyas, who in turn they educate common masses. This is the reason, because kings educate common masses, they care to these exalted souls, they care to saintly people, they care to educate kingly people. So they will educate common masses. They will make sure the common masses also follow the rules and scriptures. In this way, kingdom is actually ruled properly. Rahugana, understanding the offense, fell at the lotus feet of our Jarabharata, wanted to hear the values of life. And Srila Prabhupada says in the current times, however, government officials, they're so opposed to the propagation of Krishna consciousness. And they do not offer respectful obeisances to saintly people, but they try to obstruct spiritual propaganda altogether. And sometimes in the name of, secularism. So he concludes purport by saying, the government situation at the time of Rahugana Maharaj is like a heaven. Current government is like hellish. In this way, Rahugana immediately gets down and begs forgiveness. Verses 16 to 25, Rahugana Maharaj asks questions and begs the forgiveness. In verse 16, first question about identity of Jadabharat. Jadabharat is trying to ask actually. He asked about identity. Who are you? Whose disciple are you? Who is and whose son are you? Because he's wearing a Brahmana thread. So he recognized that. So he's asking, who are you among Brahmanas? Are you he actually felt that, are you Dattatreya? Why did you come to this place? If you have come to, you probably have come to benefit us. Are you not Narayana? Are you not Kapila Deva? Like that he's asking. So Srila Prabhupada emphasizes importance of accepting. If you see the mood of Rahuguna, he's willing to accept, surrender to Jadabharata, ask for forgiveness, and also is trying to accept him as spiritual master, to educate him, to shatter his ignorance. So Srila Prabhupada emphasizes importance of accepting a spiritual master. Rahugana, such an exalted king of Sindh region, such exalted kings used to also be so curious to surrender to spiritual masters to benefit their human, to gain the ultimate objective of human life. Such is the great need of getting a spiritual master. Rahugana is accepting Jadabharat as a guru, but guru must prove that his position not only by wearing the sacred thread, but actually by proving that spiritual knowledge. uh, so next verse talks about, I'm afraid of offending a Brahmana, right? This is very popular verse. By the way, this chapter itself is so renowned, very, very much appreciated by the devotees community in this con. And this is regularly recited. This is a wonderful chapter. Naham vishanke suraraja vajran, na treksha shulan, na yamasya dandat, na agni arka somanila vitta pastrat, shanke bhrusham brahma kulava manat. This is talking about Vaishnava Aparadh. And Raghunath is expressing his fear of Vaishnava Aparadh and the consequences of such great offense. I am not afraid of a trident of a Shiva or a Yamaraj, because when I get opportunity to fight with them, I enjoy that competition. Because of my natural courage, if they kill me, I do not fear them when they attack me and they kill me also. When I fear, actually what I fear is I'm afraid of offending a Brahmana. So Mahaprabhu also explained Rupa Goswami, right, about mad elephant offense. When mad elephant enters a farm field, he spoils all fruits, flowers, trees, everything, right? Similarly, when a person offends a Vaishnava, he spoils all his spiritual assets. And it is mentioned in the 10th canto, when a person offends great souls, sorry, a man prosecutes, when a man persecutes great souls, all his benedictions of longevity, beauty, fame, religion, blessings and promotions to higher planets will be destroyed. When they persecute or offend a great soul, this is the result. Longevity, beauty, fame, everything is gone. Ayush Shriyam Yasho Dharmam Lokan Ashisha Evacha Hanti Shreyamsi Sarvani. Hanti Pumso Mahad Atikramanaha. When someone offends a Mahad Maha Bhagavat. So now Rahugana asked, he knows, he's educated, so that's why he knows this knowledge. That's why he's begging forgiveness. Now Rahugana asked Jadabharat to explain what he spoke earlier. Although I am trying to understand what you explain, I am unable to understand your words because uh, of my ignorance. Please actually explain. Please detailedly explain what you have spoken earlier. So in the next verse number 18, my dear sir, it appears the influence of your great spiritual knowledge is hidden. Like that he speaks. Srila Prabhupada writes very important purport. He says that not associating with material world, asangaha, appearing like a dull man, Jadabharat, having power of realized knowledge, and which you wander, oh dear Jadabharat, you wander about with no superior. Therefore, O saint, I am not able to understand your words about yoga, although I'm trying to be attentive with my mind. This is very important. Although I am trying to be attentive with my mind, manasapi bhetum. So our speculative mind will not help us understand the self-realized knowledge. Sorry, the spiritual knowledge. That's why a help of spiritual master is needed. This verse is important. One of the main theme of this purport is that we have to give spiritual knowledge. Sorry, a spiritual master gives spiritual knowledge based on the understanding level of the person. That is the message actually. And expert spiritual master is competent to direct a person from any stage of life. In general, spiritual knowledge will be understood only if somebody is in mode of goodness. Somebody who is in mode of passion and ignorance is very difficult. But spiritual master is so competent, he can deliver a person who is in any stage of life, including a person in the stage of animalistic situation. Tiriyag Brahma says in second canto, Tiriyag Janapi Kimu Sruti Dharanaye. Even animalistic, Tiriyag Janapi, person can be trained by a spiritual master. Kimu Sruti Dharanaye, someone who is already had a Vedic education, what to speak about him? He will be easily delivered by spiritual master, sincerely if he surrenders and follows his instructions. So Maharaj Raghugana asked, who are you, about his identity? So Jadabharat replied, I am your palanquin carrier. Raghugana says, and this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's further deep explanation. Raghugana says, enough of trying to fool me. I know you are a great yogi. Because your words about yoga cannot be understood by my mind, words concerning yoga process, teachings of yogis have not cut my doubts in my life. So though I desire to understand your words with attentive mind, without argument, I cannot understand them. Even though without argument, without contradicting also, I am trying to understand, but still I cannot. Therefore, please actually explain your words. And in the 19th verse, sorry, dear devotees, for the delay, because this is a really deep purports, the last few verses. I'm going to try to conclude really soon. He's asking that now I am inquiring you, you are a master of yoga, Yogeshwara, right? That's why Srila Prabhupada quotes, Yogi Nam Api Sarvesham. Jadabharat is perfect yogi because he has inherited knowledge of about the Supreme Lord. That's why he is a perfect yogi. And Atma Tat. So if you see, now I am inquiring you, master of yoga, Yogeshwara. Jadabharat is perfect yogi because he's inherited the knowledge given by Supreme Lord. Now I inquire from you, the master of yoga, the best guru of sages, to know. I want to know about Atma Tattva. What do I inquire about? I inquire about the shelter in this world. Iha aranam. Iha aranam means shelter. This is what is the real shelter in this world? He's asking. This is the question he's asking in the verse 19. Please explain me what is the real shelter in this world. I asked from Lord himself, Sakshat Dharim, who appeared as a portion of knowledge, right? Therefore, a real shelter in the world is actually uh, actually Srila Prabhupada is talking about is everyone is looking for a shelter in this world, but we must know that what is most secure shelter. The most secure shelter is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Exalted personality like Jadabharata is as good as Supreme Lord because he is fully representing the Lord by giving knowledge to others. And that's why Jadabharata is accepted as a representative of Supreme Lord, direct representative of Supreme Lord, because he is imparted the knowledge on the behalf of Supreme Lord. In the verse 20, he is also saying, it is not a fact that is it not a fact that your good self is a direct representative of Kapiladeva, the incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead? Like that he speaks. So Rahugana is asking that, are you Kapiladev? are you hiding your identity as Kapaladev? Huh? And then he asks, how can a person uh, who is bound in the family life, because I am bound in the family life, how can a person like me who is absorbed in family life by bind to the spiritual life? How do I unbind myself from family life and attach myself to spiritual life? And Srila Prabhupada talks about Jarabharat told Rahugana not to identify with Upadhi. He asked him to come to the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita verse. Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam java tatha dehantar praptin dhiras tatra namuhyate. So one must approach a guru like Jarabharat, who is a representative of the Lord, to inquire about the goal of life. Here, in the next 5 verses, Rahugana poses further inquiry. Now he is asking some specific inquiries, what he replied already in the 21st verse. Sorry, explained in the 21st verse. So far in the 5 verses, he spoke, 20th verse, he spoke about the identity, that he said that I am not afraid of Shiva trident, and Yamara's punishment. I am only afraid to offend a Brahmana. He also said, I am unable to understand your words because it's not possible for me. And he's also said, what is the most secure shelter in this world? And then he asked, are you Kapiladev? And you are presented yourself as a dull man, and because attached to family life, I'm not able to understand the spiritual knowledge you explain. Like that, he said. Right now, 21 to 23, Rahugana has specific doubts about what Jadabharat spoke. So he is speaking, continuing to speak. I'm not fatigued from labor, although the soul is different from the body. That's what Jadabharat explained earlier. And so the conventional practical world is based on evidence. Here you can see Rahugana argument. Let me read out what Rahugana explained. Although the soul is different from the body, dear Jadabharta, there is fatigue because of bodily labor, and it appears to be the fatigue of the soul. When you are carrying the palanquin, there is certainly a labor for the soul. What have you said? The external, um, and also, how can you say that a soul is not fatigued? Is not impacted when the body is fatigued? And he's also saying, uh, in phenomenal world, it is, you say that it is not factual that a master and servant, these positions can change. But I am visibly experiencing this. As such, even though material activities are impermanent, they cannot be said as untrue. How do you say that they are untrue? Like that, he is expressing a question. Because Jadabharat said, I am not at all tired initially, right? King inferred as follows: you become tired by carrying the load. As the doer becomes tired, just as I become tired when I fight as a king. One cannot say that this is how people speak in the world. Why? Spiritual world, um, they don't talk in in this manner, because one cannot uproot the practical existence. Basically, he's saying, bring water by means of pot. So you cannot bring water with non-existent pot, because ultimately pot is what? Ultimately pot is temporary. You cannot say that these pots are temporary, and you cannot bring water with non-existing pot in the conventional world. Why? Because therefore, in order to make things or perform some actions, cannot reject conventions of this conventional world. If the world is unreal, there is no pot or no one to carry the water. So no one can carry the pot and the water with it if we, call them as untrue. So Srila Prabhupada, he talks about Vaishnava philosophy versus Mayavada philosophy. Essentially, he says Mayavadis, Vaishnavas, Karmis, they think material world is real and also eternal. Mayavadis think that material world is false. It is not at all, not just temporary. It's completely false. But Vaishnava understanding of world is that world is real but temporary. If you see one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada explains, there is a magician who brings a rabbit out of the hat. So Mayavadi, think that rabbit coming out of hat is false. And not only that, there is nothing called as a rabbit. There is nothing called as a hat. Everything is false. Though everybody is witnessing in front of them. That is their philosophy. But Vaishnava, they understand hat and rabbit are real. But rabbit coming from hat is something illusory, false. That is like saying material world is real, but it is something temporary. So in the next verse, Rahugana gives example to support argument he gave in the 21st verse. What is the example he's giving? I am not affected by these bodily changes, pains, and pleasures. Rahugana is countering this argument of Jadavarta by example. Soul does not become tired, or soul does not become affected because of fatigue of body, senses by doing some heavy work. So he's countering saying, if you heat a milk, first in a pot becomes hot, and then because of pot, milk becomes hot, and then because of milk becoming hot, the rice within also gets cooked. Similarly, when sun rays fall, body becomes hot, senses becomes hot, life air becomes hot, and mind becomes hot, and Atma also becomes hot. You cannot say Atma does not get affected by these things. Like that, Rahugana is trying to explain. He says, person sitting in a car is certainly different from car, but if there is a damage to the car, owner of the car being overly attached to the car feels the pain, right? Because he has identified himself with the interest of the car. So he has to avoid a detachment from the car. That is what he needs in order to come out of that misery. Similarly, soul has nothing to do with body and senses, but due to the ignorance, he identifies himself with the body and he feels pleasure and pain due to the bodily pleasure and pain. This is the answer given by Prabhupada. This argument put forth by Rahugana is correct in the practical point of view, but actually this argument arises from the attachment. Argument itself is arising from the attachment to the bodily conception. Next verse, Rahugana talks about Jadavarta spoken earlier. This resignation of king and carrier are temporary. Who is a king? Who is carrier? Tomorrow I will become king. You may become carrier. Rahugana is giving a counter argument. What is he saying? You have said punishing a madman or a self-realized person is useless. It is like grinding that which is already grounded. Pinasti pistam. What will you gain by grounding which is already a powder? So you stated servant and king positions are temporary, but even though they are actually temporary, but when a person is a king, he is supposed to discharge his duty as a king because the king is performing the role on behalf of Supreme Lord. When he is performing the duty by punishing the wrongdoer, he fulfills the order of Supreme Lord and then he becomes successful. So as a king, I am doing a prescribed dharma. So by doing that, punishing the citizens, wrongdoers, I become purified from my sin. So this is a mood of justification. Here is the lesson that we get from purport. But actually, if you read response, he spoke that being influenced by the mode of passion and ignorance, he became angry. That's what he said earlier. In order you to carry, if you don't carry, I will punish you. He spoke these words out of being influenced by passion and ignorance. But now he's justifying in this verse. I'm performing service to the Lord by avoiding punishment to a wrongdoer. This is my worship for Lord. So I am freed of sins. How can you say that it is useless to like grinding already a powder? Like that he says. So here the lesson is, of course, next verse he is exhibiting his humility by surrendering to Rahugana. Conditioned soul tendency to justify one's mistake by quoting Shastra. Damodar Maharaj says, conditioned soul wants to enjoy sense gratification, but he also wants to justify sense gratification. Otherwise, he will feel guilty. Damodar Maharaj says that. Every sense gratification has to be accompanied with justification. In order to justify, conditioned soul creates alternative philosophy. So, in 24th verse, whatever you have spoken appears to me contradictory, O my friend of distress. I have committed a great offense by insulting you. So, gravity of Vaishnava Aparad, mad elephant offense, again Prabhupada explains in this verse how to rectify Vaishnava Aparad. Unconsciously, Rahugana offended. Out of good sense he has, immediately, when we wash a dish, what happens? When we cook, immediately we have to wash. then there is no much effort. When we commit offense, we have to immediately try to ask for forgiveness. Then we don't have to worry about the consequences if the Vaishnava accepts our apology. So this is the basic essence of this verse. In 25th verse, from the Acts of Rahugana, on how he submitted for forgiveness. Great offense, because of great offense I have committed to you. You may not have taken this offense, but you may, even though you are not disturbed in your position because of my offense, persons like me will get destroyed. In fact, what to speak of me, even if Lord Shiva commits an offense against exalted Vaishnava like you, he will be also get affected. Like that he says in this verse. That is it for today's class, dear devotees. I apologize for being little because there is so much to cover in the purports. Thank you for your patience. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so